Final Fantasy XVI reviews are out there in the wild, and the game has reviewed incredibly well. It's got an 88 on Metacritic, a 90 on OpenCritic, and fans are enjoying the visceral combat, the fantastic graphics, and the overall quality that has been brought to Final Fantasy with this brand new game from Square Enix. However, there's always going to be some people that are upset about something, and it seems like The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom can't stop catching strays from other gamers who are angry over its success, or maybe don't understand why it's even popular in the first place because of what they personally like. Now, I was going to stop with these videos and these fans are angry videos or that fans are angry videos. We've done a lot of them when it comes to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And we recently had an incredible Nintendo Direct where I talked about Super Mario Wonder and also Super Mario RPG, just games that are looking absolutely incredible. And don't worry, we're going to get back to talking about that. But in this video, I had to break down why Final Fantasy XVI / PlayStation fans are angry at Tears of the Kingdom and the ridiculousness that is going on with this game. Now, before we get into anything, guys, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell to get my videos first, and check out our daily live streams at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, PE Live. We'd love to have you guys join us for all of the great conversation and more. Now, jumping right back into this, let's talk about Final Fantasy XVI. So before the game launched, there was a lot of hype with this game, how it could be a Game of the Year contender. And I still feel that Final Fantasy XVI is a Game of the Year contender. But there was a lot of hype and excitement. The demo that they released had people saying that this is going to beat out Tears of the Kingdom. That heck, Tears of the Kingdom wasn't even an innovative game compared to this. That Tears of the Kingdom is bad compared to this. And this game is going to come out and just basically smoke it. Now, not everybody was saying that, but there were some pretty large content creators that definitely took shots at Tears of the Kingdom in order to hype up Final Fantasy, and that's fine. Heck, I talked about comparisons with Final Fantasy and Tears of the Kingdom beforehand on a level of what Breath of the Wild came with in the established formula, but there were people that were thinking that that experience from the demo would translate over, and they were going to use the reviews as validation for that, because we always do that. We always see the game. Obviously, we have our own opinions and experiences, but then we see what the whole score is going to be. We see the whole picture, and then the Game of the Year and the stuff kind of slots into place. Now, if you don't do it that way, that's completely fine. If you still feel that one game is better, that's completely fine. We're not here to discuss that. We're here to discuss the absolute salt riddled posts that we are seeing from Tears of the Kingdom catching strays over Final Fantasy XVI not getting the score that maybe fans thought that it should get, or they were hoping that Final Fantasy would get. Now, here's the thing with this, guys. I always find it funny when people try to bring up Tears of the Kingdom, because there are other games that are rated higher than Final Fantasy XVI this year. We have Resident Evil 4 Remake, which is rated 5 points higher, and we also have Street Fighter 6, which is rated 4 points higher. It's not like it's 1 point or 2 when it comes to the Metacritic rating, it's multiple points. So why people are jumping all the way to Tears of the Kingdom is a bit interesting, but I wanted to show you guys this tweet, which is one of many various different tweets from randoms and also from big content creators to put Tears of the Kingdom in the sights here, which I find very interesting. We also need to remember that first-party Nintendo games get like an average 5% tacked on by virtue of being Nintendo. If Clive was Link, the Metascore would be 93. So there are a large sect of people, very ignorant ones, that believe that Nintendo gets some type of bump in their games and that their games are just way worse and Nintendo games can't possibly be as good as they are reviewed. And nobody, whenever I ask this question, nobody wants to actually point out any individual reviews or what was said or any type of proof to back it up. They just say it is, it does, and that's why, and it just is. And nobody actually gives us any proof or evidence. I mean, and that's okay, I guess, for some people. People like to not prove what they say all the time. That's literally Twitter all the time, just making up stuff based off of their opinion, based off of whatever they think, which is not based on any actual real examples or anything like that. But one example that I do have that's facts when it comes down to this is, let's take a look at that. If Clive was Link. So what happened with this game? Because this game has Link, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, rated a 93 back in 2011. And then this game also has Link, which is The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, which is better than the original in pretty much every single way. Yet it was docked so many points. Not docked physically from the people that were reviewing it back then, but just from the score back then to now at this point. So from 2011 to 2021 when it comes down to it. And the game is at an 81 average overall. So that is 12 points. So it's Link, it's Legend of Zelda. Well, why isn't it rated higher? Why isn't it automatically getting the 5% bump? What happened? Well, because it's made up. That's why. There is no actual bump or anything like that. Sony games, Elden Ring, lots of other type of games get really good reviews all the time as well. And if you look at Nintendo's titles, over the past 3 years, Nintendo hasn't had a single major release score 90 or better. The last one was Animal Crossing New Horizons, the last new game. Metroid Prime Remastered came out earlier in the year and has a 94, which is lower than the original score that it has. So what happened to the 5% bump there for Nintendo games? Metroid Prime Remastered should have definitely rated higher than Metroid Prime on the GameCube if there was some type of Nintendo game bump. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD should have absolutely reviewed higher if there was some type of 5% Nintendo bump. All of the games that came out from 2020, Animal Crossing New Horizons, all the way to this point with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, all of those games in between, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Metroid Dread, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Splatoon 3, all of these games, Mario Strikers, all of these should have had way bigger review scores and bigger bumps over everything else if that was the case. Yet they were all reviewed under Metacritic must buy or must play on there. All of them were rated underneath the 90. So what happened there in that 3 years? Especially when Sony was racking up Game of the Year winners and multiple other titles were winning. From Software games were winning, Sony games were winning. Nintendo didn't have any games that would win Game of the Year or rated way higher than all these games, yet they've been releasing games all in between there. So what bump is there? Oh, now that Tears of the Kingdom comes out and it's very dynamic, it's got a super creative, innovative system when it comes to creating vehicles and going to the skies and going underneath below, and has all these different dynamic elements and aspects to the game, a game that does a lot of things that a lot of games don't do when it comes to open world games, and is largely viewed as way better than Breath of the Wild and reviewed a little bit less than Breath of the Wild, 97 compared to a 96 at this point. Yet that's a problem. And now at this point, Final Fantasy fans need to take shots at Tears of the Kingdom because you didn't get what you want with your game. I always find this to be ridiculous. Now listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that Final Fantasy XVI is a bad game or whatever the case is like that. But if you read the reviews or if you read what's going on there, there's no environmental manipulation at all, okay? So there's no type of puzzles or extra things that you can do in the open world. It's not dynamic in that range. You can't go up into the skies or fly up high or use an airship, so there's nothing dynamic there. You can't go underground in any type of way as well. The side quests are the side quests, and some of them aren't necessarily very good. So there are things that reviewers pointed out that was an issue that makes it less dynamic, especially when it comes to the story and to the pacing of some things. It's not like there's some type of imaginary bump or not. Now listen, you don't have to agree with the review. I didn't agree with every single review when it comes to Fire Emblem Engage and the overall score, but I didn't take a shot at, like, I don't know, Elden Ring or some of the other best reviewed games just because I didn't like what they said about Fire Emblem Engage. And ultimately I was like, okay, 8 out of 10, 80, 81, whatever the score is, that's fine. It is what it is when it comes down to it. But there's no need to sit there and try to turn into Mr. Fantastic, moving all over the place, shape-shifting and making excuses because a game that you like didn't get what you want. So therefore you got to take shots at that game, this game, this game, and this game. Particularly Tears of the Kingdom, even though there's a number of other games that are rated just as high, if not higher, this year. Not even talking about just like overall, just like this year when it comes down to it. So to me, this is incredibly weird and awkward. People should just enjoy the games, enjoy Final Fantasy, enjoy what's going on with the titles. But honestly, if you go over to my Twitter page, or if you go over and see, people really think there's some type of imaginary bump or there's some type of bias when it comes to Nintendo games, despite not having any brand new Nintendo games in a 3-year drought. Oh my gosh, in a 3-year drought when it comes to 90 plus rated on Metacritic with brand new titles. And I don't think Nintendo won any Game of the Year from the Game Awards in that same time period as well. Games like Astral Chain or games like Fire Emblem Three Houses, those didn't win Game of the Year in that time period as well. Nintendo won one Game of the Year from the Game Awards with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and really hasn't been back in terms of a game that can win it up until this point. It's been nominated a number of times. Super Smash Brothers, that was 2018/2019. You had Animal Crossing, that was nominated as well. You have Metroid Dread, but there really hasn't been anything when it comes to the Game of the Year, and a lot of the scores have been in the 80s or even lower with games like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet or games like Mario Strikers Battle League. So it's not like all of these games are getting these impossibly high scores and they're just getting all this biased treatment when Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is the worst reviewed mainline Pokemon game of all time, and Mario Strikers Battle League is the worst reviewed Mario Strikers game as well. A lot of these games aren't getting these incredible reviews. Heck, even Splatoon 3, a game that improves upon Splatoon 2 in every single way, when it comes down to it, didn't even really get that much higher than the original Splatoon 2 or Splatoon 1. So it's just silly, guys. This whole bump is made up. It's just made up whenever Nintendo actually gets a game out that's super highly rated or in the Game of the Year discussion, and it takes away from your precious Sony or Microsoft game. All of a sudden it turns into a conspiracy. All of a sudden it turns into, oh my gosh, they're giving it some type of bias thing or something like that. But when it's God of War or when it's Elden Ring or when it's something else like that, well, it's okay. Oh, it's worth it. Oh, no bump, no anything like that. Completely legitimate and valid. The Last of Us, whatever the case is, right? Like, so to me, I give credit where credit is due. That's why I always say, hey man, look, you might not always agree with the Metacritic and stuff, but I feel that it's a part of it. It's just one of those things where it's a part. A lot of Final Fantasy fans felt that this game was going to review higher and it didn't, so therefore they got angry, and that's why things kind of turned into this. But at the end of the day, it's just games. I mean, I'm playing Final Fantasy XVI. The game is absolutely awesome. I think it's great. I think that there's a lot of cool stuff about the game. I mean, you can skip all of the performance stuff and the frame rate and the resolution and all that. I get that, and I understand why people might be upset with that, but at the end of the day, it's still a great experience and it's still a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it, even with its faults or not faults. Same thing with any other game, whether it's Tears of the Kingdom or anything else. Still looking forward to playing and having fun, despite I might not like one thing or another thing, but I don't know. This stuff is just silly to me. I think it's funny. Final Fantasy fans are very salty, very angry at this point over what's going on. But at the end of the day, I think what I'm seeing right now is a lot of people just enjoying the game and just enjoying Final Fantasy. So enjoy it. Who cares if it doesn't get a numerical point score higher than Tears of the Kingdom or whatever the case is, or any other game? Like, it's still going to be good for you. So enjoy the game. But what are your thoughts on this, guys, when it comes to Final Fantasy 16, the salt that's going on there, and everything else that we talked about as well? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, check out our videos right here on screen, and we will see you for the next one. Peace.